Reese with you, doing it up in the second hour with another wonderful guest that's on board. Let me just do a quick shout out to our sponsor that makes this all possible, First Northern Bank and Trust. Your community, their commitment. Make sure you check these guys out at 1stnorthernbank.com. Now, we've got a guy that's on fire, just released a full album of music. We're going to be featuring some of it, including the title track, I believe. Everybody, please make welcome to the Wall to Wall Country Show, Mr. Kenny Foster. Hey, Kenny, how are you?
I'm fantastic, Casey. How about you?
I'm awesome.
I had to think about that for a second.
Yeah, I trip over my tongue every once in a while. Hey, it's all about being a live DJ, right? You know?
Ta-da! The show must go on.
There you go. So how are you, my friend? You are a busy guy. You got a lot of things going on, and I want to get to the heart of it, which is always the music. But first, for some folks who may or may not know who you are or where you come from, can you give us a little background about who Kenny Foster is? I've read the stuff on your website. Sounds like it was this decision that was made from the heart, of just kind of picking up, cutting ties, and dropping yourself in Nashville. But I think you should tell the story. Yeah. Give my listeners a little bit about who you are and where you come from, sir.
Sure. Well, my name's Kenny Foster. I grew up in Joplin, Missouri, the southwest corner there. And I grew up doing music, doing all sorts of things in that little town, and I loved it. It was everything. To me. I love the people there. Loved growing up there. It was a fantastic place to be from. And at some point, I think the music bug hit me, as it does a lot of people. And I think I knew that to do what I wanted to do, to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish, I was going to have to leave home, which was a beautiful and terrible thing all at the same time. Mm-hmm. And so what I tried to do when I moved to Nashville was take as much of that with me as I could. And a lot of learning, a lot of writing, a lot of listening in Nashville. Nashville is a very, very difficult town to try to exist in. There are so many talented people here. There's so much going on, and there are so many people to compare yourselves to. And after a very long time of trying to chase it a little bit and trying to figure out where I landed in country music, I think what I ended up doing was finding myself back home and writing songs from where I'm from the heart of the person that I was when I left, and I think the craft that I've learned from the songwriting, from the playing, from the singing here in Nashville, a trial by fire, really. I finally got to put into a record, a full-length record that said all that I needed it to. No singles, no EPs, mm-hmm. A statement. And deep cuts, which is the record. It's that. It's from the heart. It wasn't for any particular person except for myself and the person that I wanted to be. So, the title sort of says it all. It's not just fluff. It's a lot of depth. Some deep cuts on this record.
Now, from what I've read, you open up your website and you've got the fight there, pretty much, as raw as it can be. You're leaving, you're trying, you got the rejection, you got the self-doubt, you got all that other stuff, going on, which can defeat and beat up a lot of people. In Nashville, good and bad. I mean, I think it's almost any industry. There are just so many people out there who are trying, and some of the TV shows are bringing to light how many talented people there are out there, and they're all scratching and clawing to the top for that golden ball on the merry-go-round. But I think one of the things that I got out of everything that you wrote in there is one of the things that you mentioned through the whole process. You've learned some really good, inspirational kinds of things. And one of the things that is on here is the effort to be, do, create, or try anything in this life is worth it, regardless of the outcome. It should be the battle that gets you to where you want to be. Whether if you end up number one or not, as long as you're true to yourself and going for that golden ring or whatever you want to call it is kind of what I'm getting from it. Is that true? Am I off? Am I on? Tell me what that means for you, Kenny.
I think that there's a lot of ways to get to where you're going. Mm-hmm. There's no one way, and there's no right way. Mm-hmm. there's just a lot of ways, and nobody knows what the next way is going to be. So how does the next person get to the top? I mean, you'd have to trace a very, very long story for a lot of these folks.
Right.
And I think the thing was, I saw other people's success stories, and what I wanted to do was try to recreate them in some way instead of carve my own path. And that's just being honest. So I think I needed to make a record that was entirely for me, because I also feel like what the entire industry, the promoters, the radio folks, even how the fans come to the music begins with that song, with that ability to connect, to put a morsel of truth inside something beautiful and have it connect with another human being. So to me, country music was always great about that. Because these were real people, these were real stories. The foundations were upon these people that had self-expression, and they wanted to put themselves out there, and the only way they knew how was with their instruments that they had on their porches, and they wrote songs from the heart, and that connected because it was other people heard it as their own story, because it was a tie that binded us all together. And so I think instead of chasing it, instead of trying to find this trend, instead of trying to, I don't know, be the next so-and-so, I needed to be...
You needed to be Kenny Foster first.
I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And I think because at some point, if you were faking it at all, people were going to feel that. People were going to, you have to be fully and wholly yourself. Because then even if you fake it and make it, then
where do you go from there?
Then you're going to have to fake it the rest of the time that you hold on to them.
Exactly.
And I realized that there was a much bigger thing than mass appeal. Mass appeal isn't what I wanted. What I wanted to appeal to was like truth and people that cared about things.
I really think I talk to a lot of artists, and I think unfortunately that's what ends up happening. They end up being put in this mold, and this is the way you have to sound, and this is the way you have to look, and this is, because you're going to run all these tests and all these dynamics, and this is what people are after right now. And if you don't fit that mold, then they don't want you. You know what I mean? No matter how talented you are. And I think a lot of good people fall to the wayside because of that.
Sure.
And that's
or
sad.
End up having to compromise who they were in the first place.
Yeah.
You get a watered-down version of themselves.
Yeah. And then like you said, then if you do get somewhere, what your fans are in love with is this thing that got created. But then once you come out of your shell and you become you, because now you can do that and you can stand on your own, all of a sudden you're not who everybody thought you were, all those, and you end up going backwards.
Well, or people... Or you got to be true enough to yourself that first time that people will evolve with you because they trust you, because they believe in you. And I think that's the goal.
Yeah.
The goal is to want to be able to express yourself as an artist through your songs, through your music, as truthfully and as honestly as possible, and hope and pray that people get something out of that. That this shared experience of like being an artist, and I don't mean for it to sound so like martyr-esque. It's just that like being an artist is a thankless job until it's the best job.
Right.
And so I think what I needed to do was find contentment in the thankless portion of my life and figure out how to be honest and still create something beautiful out of toiling and obscurity. I think everyone trying to claw for what matters or like trying to make themselves matter in this great wide world is part of artistry, but I think you do that by creating great art instead of by chasing it.
Right.
And it took me a long time to get to that point, though. I mean, I for all of those people that are still chasing it, like, go. I hope you get there. I just, for me, for this time in my life and for what I wanted to do, to almost to even justify why I moved away from this town that I love, this state that I love, into somewhere else, into no man's land where I knew no one. I needed to make something that bridged the gap between the person I was when I left and the person I became, and I'm very, very proud of this record for that reason.
So this album, all the music is stuff you wrote? Everyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wrote and co-wrote every song on the record. Most of these songs came in the past 2 years. I was pretty prolific. I was writing full-time, 5 days a week, and pumped out about 350 tunes in 2 years.
Wow.
Co-writing at different publishing houses and writing for other people as well. But I know that the songs that really connected with me and some of the writers in the room, it was from a different voice, a voice that neither of us really knew what it was. And I think as that kept showing up in new writes, I realized it was my voice.
Nice.
So I had a chance to sit down and we would demo up the tunes and we'd take them into publishers and I would play them for publishers, and the publishers they're great reviews. This is a fantastic song. I love this song. And man, one person even said, man, this is a career song. Whoever decides to cut this song, it might literally be the song of their career, but I don't know who's going to do it.
Yeah.
When I heard that enough times, I just went, well, there must be a voice missing somewhere. If these are great songs and they can be recognized as great songs, then shouldn't there be a home for those songs?
Yeah.
And so I realized that maybe within the machine as it existed, those songs couldn't exist. People had sort of already put their flag in the ground about what kind of artists they were, and these songs didn't mesh with that. And I can't blame them for that. But I also realized that there should be an artist whose flag in the ground was around songs like this, around great songs. And so it was a long shot to put it out as an independent, but that's what we decided that we had to do so that it could exist in the way that we really wanted it to.
So let's talk about some of these songs. We're going to play a couple of them and give folks a chance to listen to them. It's interesting because the 3 songs you picked, the titles are very they're like you, okay? The titles are you. The first one, in a short conversation, I'm like, well, these titles make absolute sense for the guy that I'm talking to. The first one the first one we're talking about is Stand. You're talking about, standing for yourself and doing the thing that is the right thing to do, stand up, whatever. Is that what the song's about? Tell us what Stand's about.
Well, Stand is about that. As I was writing it with my co-writers that day, it was probably a year and a half ago at this point, maybe even 2 years, I just wondered if we could be so bold, if we could be so brash as to say the things we really meant. Because I think what happens is you get in a room and you sort of dance around it, or you use some lines that everyone has heard before, just so it's familiar. And I said, can we do this? Can we turn phrases that everyone knows is on their heads? And I think the look in their eyes as we were spitting lyrics back and forth was, yeah, like, no, we should. Not just we can, but we should. Mm-hmm. And so this song was about at some point we all have to stand for something, and I think what we wanted to do was make it something that mattered.
Okay.
And so we wrote a song that I think encapsulates that, and it just happened to be pretty timely in the place that we find ourselves in as Americans, and it's just kind of the world's just a crazy place right now. So I found that this had to be a tune that needed a life. Well, so we gave it one.
I think what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with your song Stand off the album Deep Cuts by Kenny Foster. Can you hang in there for just a little bit yet, Kenny?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, we're going to be back with more from Kenny. Don't go anywhere. An amazing, deep-hearted, very self-insured person. Just really getting an awesome vibe from this guy here. I think his music is even going to be that much deeper and that much of a message to people. So I really want you guys to give this a listen. We've got a tune off his Deep Cuts album coming up right after the break. It's a little something called Stand from Mr. Kenny Foster. More from this guy in just a minute. Well, I like it. I like it a lot. That was Mr. Kenny Foster and a tune called Stand, making a point of, stand up for stuff in life and stand up for your family, stand up for your children. It's a really good tune, Kenny. I really, really like it. Done. Well done.
Hey, good. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And I think it's stuff like this too that will reach out to people Are you out performing these songs? Out performing this stuff?
Yeah. Well, right now we're teaming up for a fall tour. We're doing some in the Midwest, some dates in the Midwest, and then we're going to the UK and Ireland actually.
Oh wow! Okay.
In August and September. So, yeah, we'll be able to release more info about all that in the next couple weeks.
Okay.
But,
I think people are going to be standing in the audience. I think they're going to be paying attention when this song is being performed, and I think they're going to know the words. And I think you're going to touch hearts with that one. I really do.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I like it a lot. Now, everything in this album is inspirational. When you wrote all this music, there was always something behind each and every song.
Yeah, of course.
We were talking about another one that I want to air in just a little bit, another song, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But before we get that far, Kenny, if people are interested in hearing your music and figuring out where your tour is going to be once you get some of those dates set and stuff, what's some of the best ways to reach out to you?
Well, KennyFosterMusic.com is my website, and it has all of the information in one place, which is nice.
Okay.
If there's a link that you need to know, you can go through there. Honestly, if you do iTunes or Pandora or Spotify, however you take in digital music, it's available. It's out there as well. I've got a Facebook page. I've got Instagram, at Kenny is Go is my name on that, and on Twitter. So please reach out, say hello, check things out, see if you like it.
Yeah. The album cover is very interesting.
Interesting is a good word for it.
I'm trying to play it safe. But, was that... people have to see this, so they need to go to your website and check out this album cover or find you on Facebook or whatever, and I've thrown it out there in the interview post. But, it's almost... I'm not sure what to call it. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, it's gruesome, isn't it?
Yeah. So was that your idea? Is that your idea that everything's just coming and bleeding from the heart?
Yes, it totally was. I had a song I wrote many years ago now called Bravery, and one of the lines in it was, "Nothing about me says I think I'm good enough. I know I've got a heart with a leak. I try to fill it up."
Okay.
And what I wanted to do was capture that in some way, and I didn't know how to make it in the most epic way possible, but I kind of wanted to make a statement about where these songs were coming from. Mm-hmm. I mean, as if my words haven't done it enough, or the music itself doesn't do it. I wanted people to interact with something that was a bit shocking, so that they might look inside to see what's waiting for them there. When album art, when you used to get vinyl or you used to get CDs, there were booklets. You could go in and you could dig into the artist and get to know them, and you read through lyrics and you saw more pictures, and they would do thank yous and reveal things about the music, and I loved that. I loved artists. Like, I know it's a very song-based industry right now. Everyone just kind of likes a song and they kind of just take it in and move on, but I liked the people that made the songs, and I wanted to know everything about it, like VH1 storytellers, all of that. Mm-hmm. I wanted to know all the stories behind, because there must be something behind making all of this beauty that I loved and that connected to me so much. And so I knew that I was only now on iTunes or on Spotify or what have you, it's really been reduced to like a 3-inch by 3-inch image, and that's all you get with all of the music that you put out now. And I wanted to make that 3 inches compelling. I wanted to make it make a statement, and maybe some people are turned off by it, and that's completely fine, because it is kind of gruesome. But when I also wanted people to know where this was coming from, that it was with the same seriousness that I wrote the record, we made an album cover.
Yeah.
And we put a lot of time and effort into it, and maybe there's a lot of blood.
I think you know what though? I think that's a lost form. Album covers.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
I really wish they would go back to doing that sort of thing with even CD covers, even if you can pop that front thing out and get a little bit more information. I know some artists were doing it for a little bit. Now a lot of them, it's just one little piece of paper that basically has the credits and a photo. But it's definitely something that echoes the little bit I've learned about you. It's like, this is more than just putting some words on a piece of paper and throwing some notes at it and giving it to a couple of guys to play and going, okay, well, next. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is deeper.
I've been living in this record a long time. So,
yeah.
I mean, if you can make a record the culmination of, the experience in your life, like, I don't know how. I mean, I know how. It was by the great guidance from producer Mitch Dane, who has known my story, been alongside me for a long time in Nashville, and we got into the studio and he asked me what I wanted to do, and he said, because I'll make you any record that you want, but I'll tell you what I want to make, and what I want to make is your story. I want to capture your story, and if we don't do that, then we've done something wrong here. So it was really by him kind of refusing to let me be something else. Was one of the major players in getting me to move forward and make this record as bold and as sort of unapologetic as it is.
Awesome. Well, I think it's refreshing. I think it's refreshing.
Well, great. Thank you.
I think it's refreshing. I do this every week, and I've had some really great artists. Don't get me wrong, and they've had some great music and stuff. But the whole feel with this interview is just a little bit different, a little bit deeper, a little bit, and maybe it's just the way that it's been expressed in the past with different artists. Sure. But definitely, if this is a lifelong venture for you to get this thing out there.
Sure.
So of course,
there's a lot of sacrifice for every artist that decides to do this.
Sure.
And because you give up all of the other lives that you could be leading.
Sure.
'Cause it's not just something you do on the side. It's not you have a day job and you write at night sort of thing, which I did for a long time. Just because you got to keep the wheels on, you got to keep the bills paid, you got to keep the roof over your head.
Sure.
That's the work. That's the hard work that has to go into, making your art. But at the same time, I think I needed to make a statement about what that period of my life meant. And because I think there's a great number of people that maybe love singing or always wish that they could be an artist or they've always wanted to sing country music, or maybe they always wanted to be on TV or an actor. And the funny thing is, there's a great amount of work and resistance into doing something like that, into putting your own art into the world. And it may seem great and wonderful, but by the time most people are taking that art in, all they're doing is just taking whatever has been sold, has climbed the ladder enough to be sold to someone and the funny thing is, there are, for every one of those, I'd say there's 1,000 other artists that are slugging it out and just trying to be important.
Sure.
And
absolutely, there's a lot out there.
There is. Oh my gosh, and it's
yeah.
We could talk all day about it, I'm sure.
Yeah, true. So another tune we talked about,
Sure.
Made. Again, another title that's a one-word title that says so much.
Yeah.
Tell us.
Made is actually the song that I kind of molded the whole record around. Once Made was written, I wrote it with my friend Daisy Mallory, a great artist in her own right, and another redhead. So, but we sat and we hit on something. We actually started with this very poppy, very straightforward tune, and then I ended up spitting this verse at her, and she was just like, well, I don't know about all the rest of this, but if we can do more of what you just said, then I want to do that. And so we ended up writing this tune that was from a voice that none of us had heard, neither of us had heard in a very long time, but that meant an awful lot to us. And so once I realized that the voice in this song was the voice that I wanted to carry over through the rest of the record. So I asked myself, as every song was in contention, we had 350 to sift through, I needed to say, can the me that sang Made sing all of these other tunes? And if the answer was yes, then it stayed in. But if it's no, or it felt a bit dissonant, then I said no. Okay. No, that's for another project. And so this song is about finding contentment in your plot in life, because I think I could speak for quite a few of us that maybe it didn't end up in all the ways that we meant for it to, or sure, even that we wanted it to, as hard as we try as we might. And I think that, as you said earlier from my website, but trying to do that, trying to create anything regardless of the outcome, that is the challenge. That is the victory.
Right.
Victory is in seeking out to do it and doing.
Yeah.
And
not giving up.
That's what the song is about.
And,
yes. Yes. Well, and knowing that what you have done is a good work.
Right.
And the song Made for me is that.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to feature that one here in just a minute, but I know you were a bit on a time restriction. I don't want to hold it too much longer. We'll be playing that right after we say our goodbyes, Kenny. One last tune, though, a quick definition of it. At the end of the show, this entire show gets recorded and played back on a Sunday morning. Starts at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, 9 a.m. For the interview with you. But I like to play one more song from my artist. Another cut off the Deep Cuts record is a little something called Revival, which kind of feels like the whole story now is coming around full circle with Revival. We're going to feature that at the end of the show. A quick wink, wink. What is that a little bit about?
Well, it does speak for itself, really. I think in the midst of all this, and what we did with the record was we're taking you on a journey. Like the song order was very intentional. Mm-hmm. So you start with Stand, and we take you to hell and back, basically, through this record. But at the end, the message of overwhelming hope is that as long as no one makes it out of this thing alive, so as long as we're still here, I promise that on the far end of whatever it is that's got you down in this moment, there is hope, and there's a reason to hope. Right. Where there is breath, there is hope. And so this is a song that I think just embodies that idea, that on the far end of this trial, whatever it is that you find yourself in, is revival, is that ability to be reborn.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I think we'll hit that one at the end of the show as well. So this has been, I think you and I could have a conversation all day long.
Sure, it's true.
Unfortunately,
sure it is.
I don't think either one of us have that time. But, a real quick wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You already mentioned about a fall schedule coming to play on your website. Something else people can look forward to once they find you at kennyfostermusic.com, or maybe get you on the one of the many social medias you're on. What are some of the things that fans can be looking for from you in the near future?
Well, I was out in Vegas for the ACMs, and I had a very wonderful crew follow me into the desert, and we shot some pretty compelling stuff, not only about the record, but also in support of a music video for Stand.
Okay.
And there's a music video that's going to be coming out. There are some tour collaborations coming out that could be very fun in the next few months. And I do a blog probably once a week that kind of lets people in on this journey and this story. And if you want to keep up with what it looks like, the good, the bad, and the ugly, you can find it there. Just kind of a continuation of the story. If you like what you hear, then maybe you'll like what you read as well.
And that's all
great ways.
That's all on your website.
Yep, kennyfostermusic.com.
Okay, so that would be the head end of where people need to go to get all of it. Your music is on all the electronic digital spectrum, the iTunes, the Google, the Amazon, and all that other kind of great stuff.
Yeah, all of it. Yep. If you Google Kenny Foster, I should be right up there.
Awesome.
So wherever it is that you take in music, just look me up.
Awesome.
Just like it sounds.
Well, Kenny, it's been an honor and a pleasure, and kudos to you as an independent artist. To fight and be persistent, and your story is very inspirational.
Cool.
You've fought tooth and nail to do what you've done. You haven't really had it handed to you, which if
that's for sure.
Yeah, well, some artists have a foot up in some areas, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing.
Sure.
Hardly
is it a bad thing. Good for them. But just for some, it takes a little more out of you, that's all.
And I'm wishing you all the luck in the world and all the persistence in the world to do what you need to do or what you want to do. And with this album, plus, any future endeavors. And know that if you are ever in the state of Pennsylvania, the doors to Penn's Peak Radio are always open. All my artists always love to have you sit down and have a conversation in the studios here with us live on air. That would be just freaking awesome.
Well, I hope to do that very soon, Kate.
All right. Well, listen, I don't want to hold you up any longer. We will get those songs out there for you. We'll throw your music into some rotation here. But remember, guys, you want to check this out. It's called Deep Cuts, available on all the electronic medias across the board. Are you doing a hard copy of this, Kenny?
Yeah, and those will be available through the website as well. I actually did a 28-page booklet to go along with this, like as an homage to all of the old album artwork that I loved.
Nice, and you guys got to check out the artwork on the album cover for this too, or the CD cover, or whatever you want to call it. Check it out. A throwback guy right here. For those of you who miss awesome artwork and awesome credits and information, check this guy out. Deep Cuts, available across the board electronic wise, iTunes, Google Play, and all that. KennyFosterMusic.com to get the blog, to get the tour schedule, to get your hands on just about anything Kenny Foster. And dude, you're always welcome back on the show. You got something new and exciting going on, please get back in touch and we'll get you back on the schedule.
Hey, thank you so much. We'll do it.
All right. Take care, sir, and thank you for your time.
You too.
All right. Take care.
Thank you for yours.
All right. Bye-bye, Kenny.